The batteries that we used to use and that still are used are what we would term a lead acid battery, and those come in various forms. You'd have the flooded, the AGM, or the gel type battery. But the technology has changed somewhat, and we are now finding that the price point of lithium batteries has come down to such an extent that it's no longer viable to use the traditional lead acid type battery. With the new technology of supercapacitors that competes with lithium ion, what we have to also remember is that lead acid batteries, in order to get life out of them, you can only discharge them to a very limited amount in order to get life. So 30 to 50% would be the range. Whereas when you look at something like a lithium ion battery, you could go down to as much as 80% and get far, far higher cycle use out of that battery at 80% than any lead acid could ever give you. On the other hand, if you look at a supercapacitor, that you can discharge to 100%, and you can charge it and discharge it 100,000 times. So that's the next step again. So now we see the phasing out of the lead acid and people moving towards the newer technologies, being the lithium ion as well as the supercapacitor technology. At domestic versus a business setup, domestic setups are generally the use of hybrid inverters. So that means you have an inverter that uses solar. It has a utility connection, so you still have Eskom in the background. And then, of course, you have batteries. For businesses, on the other hand, you could use that system, but often businesses, especially larger businesses, go for what's called a grid tie system. And this system is there just to save energy. So you've got no backup facility. It's just a way of using the maximum potential from the sun during the day and using it in the business environment, and therefore thereby saving on your Eskom bill. What we would do first of all is we would have a look at your system, and we would look at your house, and we would see what we need to assist with. What we need to remember, and this is a very important point, is that 70% of energy is consumed outside of solar producing hours. So that means early in the morning and late at night. So the first problem you encounter there is that while you're producing during the day and you're not at home, what are you going to do with the energy? You could run the pool, you could run the dishwasher, you could run the washing machine. But what you'd have to do is store a lot of that energy. And the only way to do that is in a battery bank. And at Probe, we have the ideal solution in both the lithium batteries, and now we even have the supercapacitor option to store that energy for use, what I call out of hours consumption. Businesses from spaza shops to small shops to small office environments can make use of solar in a big way. By use of either using a grid tie system, which is a system not using any battery backup, or making use of a hybrid system where battery backup is used. They can run all the computer equipment. You can run telephones. You can run air conditioners. You can do all that sort of thing on solar very, very effectively if the system is sized correctly, and the equipment that's being used in the office is energy efficient, and the whole system together can be engineered to be very successful. Often the problems you have in office setups is the accessibility to being able to fit an inverter system, to being able to have a battery room where these batteries can be fitted. And then, of course, you need your solar panels to be fitted somewhere. And if roof space is a problem, that often has to be looked at, because you cannot produce the required PV to run the system if you don't have access to that. So those are planning considerations that should be taken into account before looking at going solar. From Probe's point of view, we're able to help across the spectrum. We do the full engineering setup, where we can help you assess your project. We can come in, do an assessment on the building or your premises, and give you some advice. We can come and do a load check, see what you require. And then we can roll out the entire thing. We can supply the inverters, the panels, and we have very good installers who can come and set it all up for you and get it working. And from a very small office perspective, we can give you a plug and play unit. We can give you a little 1 kVA or a 2 kVA unit, which you can plug in and run 1 or 2 units in your office. Probe, we have the full power package. Before you call anyone else to come and talk to you about solar, please give us a shout. We have inverters, solar inverters, we have hybrid inverters, all the mounting structure you need. So before you do anything, give Probe a call and we'll sort out all your solar needs.